Welcome to Sports Talk with RNJ. I'm Steve Risser along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we have made it to one of the best times of the year with March Madness. It started last night with Howard beating UMBC, both close games, I'll say. Howard beating UMBC and Texas beating NC State. Tremont Mark with that huge shot, and they'll move on to face BYU. Howard moves on to face Michigan. But we got to start with the East region. We got to start with the UConn. We got to start with the East region, and really we're gonna go. We'll get right into it with UConn. I mean, what are really going into this region? If you look at the East region, you look at this region, it's a loaded region with Duke, with Michigan State, with Kansas, with St. John's. You got, I think, four coaches with multiple with national titles, three with multiple national titles. So this region is loaded, especially with the coaching in this region. It is loaded. And let's get into UConn right at the start. What are UConn's chances to win this region? And I'm going to say not very good. Not very good. I don't like what I've seen from this team. Really? For a while now. In terms of them being a national championship team, I haven't liked what I've seen this team for almost 2 months. I really haven't. Very inconsistent from 3-point range. I think overrated defensively. You saw St. John's that Big East championship game get anything they wanted. I mean, that Big East title game was over with 5-6 minutes to go. It was over. Very disappointing performance in the Big East title game for UConn. You thought, hey, all right, are you surprised they lost? No, but you thought they'd be there. They'd be there in the end. They were not there in the end of that game. They lost by 20 points. They lost by 20, and they shot the ball terribly from 3-point range. And as we said pre-show, just like they did against Marquette, they shot the ball terribly from 3-point range in that game. They shot the ball terribly from 3-point range against St. John. So I don't like their chances. I've done my bracket, and I don't even have them get to the Elite Eight. I got them losing the Sweet 16 to Michigan State. That's what I got them doing. I got them losing Sweet 16 to Michigan State. So, Justin, what's your feeling of UConn going into this tournament, going into the NCAA tournament?
Well, I thought they got a favorable side of the bracket here because
really favorable side.
I don't like Michigan State. I'm actually the 3 seed I wanted to see in their region was either Michigan State or Virginia, and they got Michigan State. Michigan State's a good team, but I think in a game with against UConn, I favor UConn. I think they can beat Michigan State. I saw them play an exhibition game. Michigan State really couldn't do much offensively besides just get to the free throw line.
All right. It's an exhibition game. And listen, UConn was playing better. I think they were playing better at the beginning of the season. They peaked in December. They peaked in mid-December. They haven't been as good as they've been in mid-December. It's an exhibition game against Michigan State.
Yes. Now, also, I think this UConn team's better when they're outside of conference. So, and look, because talking about this region, yeah, it's tough. It's tougher, I think, at the top half. And again, I wouldn't be shocked if Coach K was on the phone with Keith Gill on Sunday night, giving him an earful about the draw that Duke got. Because man, I'd never thought in my life I'd ever see Duke get the hardest region. I'm so happy they did it to him.
After being the number 1 overall seed too. Now, I don't think it should be the number 1 overall seed, but that's another story for another day. But but they did get a hard region. But you like UConn. You like UConn side of the bracket. I don't like it when it gets to Sweet 16 at all.
Yeah, I think Michigan State matches up well with them. I do think this team's a lot harder to prep out, because I just think a lot of the Big East teams know them so well and know their stuff and know how to. Again, the Big East never calls it, and I've said this all year. They don't call anything. UConn gets grabbed every time they call for a screen. This weekend, that's going to get called. If UConn St. John's playing the Elite Eight, I feel a lot better that they're not going to have Big East officials. I'm going to feel a lot better about that thing. I don't think St. John's get there. I don't think St. John's getting out the first weekend again because the way they play, you can't win. You can't win in March that way. And they're about to learn that lesson again like they did last year. So, I like you guys half of the draw, and I think, again, I could be wrong, and I just think could just have issues, and the injuries could be a problem here, and they flame out at some point. I wouldn't be totally shocked, but I do like their chances here to go deep in this region.
You do like their chances to go deep. Now, you brought up, they play better they play better in the non-conference. Yes, this year they've proven that. They went 5-1 against Illinois, against Kansas, against Florida, against BYU, against Texas, and then they lost to Arizona, but they went 5-1 in those games. So you're right about that. And Pearlie brought up 2023, where they weren't that good in Big East play, where they were good in non-conference play. They didn't win the tournament, and they won the national title. But the thing for me is the Big East was clearly better in 2023 than it was in 2026. This year, the Big East was the worst of the Power 5 conferences, and there's no argument about it. And UConn, to me, has gotten worse than they've been in the middle of December. They've gotten worse and worse. They have not played. To me, and as I said earlier, they peaked in the middle of December. Now, I hope I'm wrong about this, but from what I've seen, they peaked in the middle of December. And really in Big East play, outside of that 30-point win and that 27-point win at Creighton, they really haven't been that impressive. They haven't been as impressive as they were in the beginning of the season. That's why I don't like them. I don't like their chance to make a deep run. I think a physical team like Michigan State beats them because they played a physical team in St. John's and they got destroyed in the Big East championship game. So I don't like their chances to make a run to win this region. I think they're going to lose in the Sweet 16. Now, Justin, you say they're going to make a deep run. How deep a run do you think they're going to make in this region?
I think they win the region.
Oh, wow. You think they win the region? Wow.
It's not who you think is winning the Elite Eight. It's not who you think is winning the Elite Eight.
All right.
We'll find out soon.
We'll find out soon on that one. We'll find out soon on that one. But you think they win the region? Wow.
Yeah.
What I've seen this year. Okay, what are you saying?
In 20 years since the last time they played in the DC region. It's revenge time. They got to take
the George Mason.
The George Mason team.
George Mason loss. Yeah. I remember that. I remember the George Mason
same building.
Loss. Probably one of your first memories at UConn basketball, watching that George Mason defeat.
Yeah.
You probably were not happy about that
definitely.
one.
That was.
Did you go? Did you go to that? Did you go to that? Did you and your dad go to that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Because you and your dad go to a ton of games, but you didn't go to that one.
Yeah, no, I've never been to a regional on the bucket list. On the bucket list. Yeah, on the bucket. Having it, but no. So so I think they win it. I don't
really. Wow.
Don't think they're gonna be playing the Blue Devils, but No, I think they go down earlier as well here. But yeah, like again, this team almost beat Florida last year in the second round. If it wasn't for a Walter Clayton, Kemba Walker as final 3 minutes from him, you kind of had a chance. So. And last year, that team didn't play well. So, yeah, I know they're not putting down well down the stretch here. Look, I could be wrong about this too. I think Silas does have that kind of dog mentality in him. And I think it's got to come out. And I'm hoping this week it does. Now, he should be good to go this week. Sounds like everything came back positive on the MR and the X-ray, which is good. But, I think this team just needs to get outside of conference play. Again, they get mugged a lot, and it just doesn't get called, and I understand it. And you also have a guy in James Breeding who him and Hurley can't stand each other, and he's done 9 of the games and does the Big East championship game. Like, I'm not making excuse. You kind of lose that game to the officials on Saturday, but it's ridiculous that a guy that these two guys can't stand each other, he does a quarter of their games. It is a little ridiculous, and that he's the worst ref in the conference, and he gets the Big East championship game every year. So like, there's also that too.
So you are not a fan of the refs. A lot of UConn fans actually agree with you. A lot of UConn fans do agree with you. Yeah, a lot of you. Because I was sitting next to someone at the game who I knew, and he texted his friend. His friends were texting him during the game and told him that this is the same ref that ref the Marquette game.
Oh yeah. Breeding does a bunch of them. Breeding and Matt Potter too's the second worst rep. Coaches have compared Breeding to Angel Hernandez.
Really?
And this guy's doing the Big East championship game.
Wow.
Make it make sense.
Yeah.
But that's the Big East for you. They'd rather you be kind to the officials than actually get 3 good ones to do the championship game. That's where we're at with Val Ackerman here at this point. And again, she doesn't do a good job marking the league. How's Zuby not a first? How's Zuby not any of the All-American teams?
Oh, he should have been. Absolutely. Yeah. Zuby should have definitely been on one of the All-American teams. He was the Big East player of the year. Now, I know the Big East was the worst of the Power 5 conferences, but he should have been considered for an All-American. Yeah. I'll definitely give you that. But yeah, I bet you didn't stay for that trophy, so you didn't see Val Ackerman during that trophy.
No, we were gone with. We left with like 2 minutes left. Did you stay?
I stayed through. I've never been to a Big East
Credit to you.
I've never been to a Big East final.
Okay.
I've been to a Big East final.
All right.
I was when I was 8 years old, so I just wanted to see it happen in person.
All right, that makes sense.
So I actually did see the trophy ceremony.
Yeah.
It takes a while. It took like 10 minutes.
It does.
It took like 10 minutes after the game to have the ceremony, but I did see the ceremony. I saw Zuby. I walked by the Empire State Building being in red, all in red.
Yeah, I wanted to get out of that city. And, I can't stay and watch that. I have zero respect for Patino as a human being, so I can't watch that. I
Yeah,
just
I bet.
couldn't. I've
bet
seen
you.
it twice. I saw 24 and 11, so I've seen it. That
Yeah, yeah.
11 one, man. We didn't get on the train probably at 12 because that was when it was still at 9 o'clock at night.
Oh,
I was still
really?
in like
Yeah.
sixth grade. We
Yeah.
didn't get back to like 3:34 in the morning. That was a way more.
You take the train back and forth.
Yeah, we took the train. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
like too. It was like spring ahead too. I was
yeah.
sick that whole next week.
I bet. But yeah, For me, you got them. You got them winning it. I got them losing the Sweet 16. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up. We'll see what happens there. But we got to stay in the Big East. We got to talk about St. John's, who, despite never trailing in the entire Big East tournament, in all three of their games against Providence, Seton Hall, and UConn, never trailing, winning all their games by double digits in the Big. Even though Seton Hall, it was a 6-point game in the second half. Pretty much never trailing throughout the entire Big East tournament. They end up getting a 5 seed. And really, the question is St. John's underseeded? And I think it's obviously they definitely are. And look at the road. They got to play Kansas. They got to beat Kansas, Michigan State, or Michigan, Kansas, Duke, Michigan State, or UConn to get to the Final Four. That is brutal for a team that won the Big East. I know the Big East was the worst of the 5 power conferences, but they still won the conference. They won 19 out of 20. I think they got screwed. I think they completely got screwed with being number 5 seed. I thought they should have been a 4 seed minimum.
Yeah. I think their problem with St. John's is they had a chance to beat Bama in the non-con. They had a chance to beat Iowa State in the non-con. You had a chance to beat Kentucky. I know they're not great, and an Auburn team that missed out, of course. I think that's where you missed it because outside of the 2 wins against UConn, and I guess you could say the couple they have against Nova, there's not many more quality wins that they have on that bone.
That is a good
even
point.
Tino was like thought they should be a 4 or 5. Like I just think that's why there's just not a lot of meat on that bone because there's not a lot of quality wins that they got. So I thought they got more screwed that they got to head all the way out to San Diego. Have fun.
That's gonna be
Nice weather. Yeah, enjoy the weather. And the West Coast officials too usually call it a lot more tighter than they do in the Big East with the hand checking that they love to do, especially Dylan Darling. You should know. So not great for St. John's having to go out all the way out west there. So yeah, you could say they got screwed. I get it. They probably should have been more of a 4 seed, but like even Vandy, if you look at all Vandy's metrics, they should be like a 3 seed. They're a 5.
Yeah, absolutely. They shouldn't be a 5 seed. Yeah, they shouldn't be a 5 seed. They should be higher than that.
Yeah, they should too. So like, yeah, I think this year was kind of hard too with some of these. So with some of the seeding stuff. So yeah, you could say they're more a 4. I thought they got more screwed headed to all the way out to San Diego there, but yeah, they should have probably been more a 4 seed.
Yeah, and you have to consider the way they're playing now too. They've won 19 out of 20. I know they lost to Providence. I know they lost to Auburn, but they've won 19 out of 20. One of the hottest teams in college basketball. Oh, listen, I know the Big East wasn't that good this year. I get it, but still, I'm definitely giving that team a 4 seed. And you said it earlier too. Zuby Ejiofor should have been an All-American. He was the Player of the Year in the Big East, and he was the best player in the Big East tournament. And there was no argument about that.
Yeah, no, he was. So yeah, that's another thing. That's the conference just cannot market at their own players. But that's been another issue for years. There's a lot of issues in Big East, and I love the conference, but man, more and more goes on. Even though the Big 12, what a clown show that court was.
Oh my God.
That was
They start with the court. They start with one court. They finish with another court. Crazy. I mean, great basketball in the Big 12. Arguably one of the best conferences. Great basketball, but still. Yeah, that was a clown show. I'll definitely give you that. Now, Duke is the number 1 overall seed in this region. The number overall seed in the NCAA tournament. But they got a brutal region. As you said earlier, Coach K would probably – he's not the coach anymore. He's retired, but he's still involved, obviously. So you wonder why. You were saying you're surprised he wasn't on the phone with the committee talking about, why do we get this region? And really the question is, should Duke be the favorite to win this region? I'm still going to say yes, because I know Caleb Foster is probably not going to play until the Final Four, but they have one of the best players in college basketball, Cam Boozer. Got a really good shooter in Isaiah Evans. It looks like they're gonna get their big guy. They might not play against Siena, but that doesn't matter. They'll win that game. So it looks like they're gonna get their big guy back as well. So I do think they should be the favorite. I do think they should be the favorite because UConn and St. John's are good teams. They're not great teams. Kansas had a ton of chemistry issues all year with Darren Peterson. That team, you saw it in that semifinal of the Big 12 tournament. They've had a ton of chemistry issues all year. Kansas has. And then Michigan State, they're a good team, but they're not a great team. I know it's going to be tough for them. The Sweet 16 matchup against St. John's or Kansas is going to be a really tough matchup for a number one overall seed. I get it. And then playing either Izzo or Hurley in the Elite Eight, that's going to be tough too. But I do think they should be the favorite in the region. Now I know where you're going. You're saying they're not. And Justin, why are they not the favorite to win this region?
Yeah, for me, they're not the favorite at the moment is the injuries. And yeah, because Caden Boozer, he played better towards the end of the ACC tournament, but that first game against Florida State, they guarded him like Andre Jackson, where like they were not even 15 feet away from the basket. There was not a man coming anywhere near him. They were fine with him doing whatever he wants shooting the basketball. He shot it pretty well against Virginia, I believe it was. It was either the Virginia or Clemson game. He did shoot it decently, and he could kind of keep you in off balance. He's had a really rough year shooting wise. But yeah, Patrick Nambanga, their big guy, he should be coming back. That's going to help their size. But like for them too, like Isaiah Evans is a really good player. When he's on, he's on. He's a defensive liability. They don't have a ton of depth behind those guys at the guard spot. So Damian Stars really struggled to shoot the ball as well. So Cam Boozer is the best, one of the best players in the country. You could nitpick either, him, Darius Acuff, Darren Peterson, AJ DeBanso, like one of those four too. Like, so, and that's also why it's like if Peterson's on, which I think he's gonna be in this tournament, he might have to see in the Sweet 16, and Peterson might be the better player than Boozer. Maybe Boozer goes down. But it'll be very, very tough. I know it's gonna be a home crowd for Duke, obviously, and DC, a lot of good fan bases potentially there. But yeah, I just think the injuries right now, and I think Caleb Foster is going to be a big loss for him.
We'll see. That Foster injury is definitely significant. It didn't hurt him it almost hurt him in the first round of the ACC, but it didn't hurt him throughout. It didn't prevent him from winning the ACC tournament. So we'll see what ends up happening with that injury. Now we will go before we do our prediction of the East region, the two teams that'll be in the Elite Eight and who gets the Final Four of the region. We kind of know Justin kind of already told you that who he has going earlier in the show, who he has going to the Final Four. But we'll give our, I'm going to tell you this. I don't have a lot of mid majors that I'm picking to make a run. I've given up on mid majors after last tournament. I've just completely given up on them because of the new NIL rules. I've given up on mid majors. In my bracket, I'll admit, highest seed I have, the lowest seed I have winning a game is a 12 seed. I don't have any 13 seeds winning a game. I don't have any 14 seeds winning a game. I don't have any 15 seeds winning a game. And I don't need to tell you. It's pretty obvious that I don't have any 16 seeds winning a game. So I would say first we'll talk about who our sleeper team is in the East region. And for my sleeper team, I'm going to go with UCLA. I'm going with the team that could play UConn in that round. They got to the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament. It looks like they're going to get Bilodeau and Dent back. Mick Corona is a really good coach who's been to a Final Four. And I think they could, say they match up with UCLA and Michigan State in the Sweet 16. I think they could beat Michigan State and make this run. So for me, it's UCLA. That's my sleeper team in the East region. Justin, who's your sleeper team in the East region?
Yeah, that's mine too. UCLA, Ty Bilodeau, that's their best player. And yeah, it sounds like he's gonna come back. They also did beat I thought they did beat Michigan. They did not beat Michigan. They get killed. But again, UCLA has not played well outside of LA this year. They do have to go to Philly. But still with their guard play, Donovan Dent and Tyler Bilodeau, they got some size. So and Mick Cronin's a good coach. So again, they could kind of find it in there for a couple games this week and find their way into the Sweet 16, maybe find their way into the Elite Eight there. But I went with the Bruins as well here as the sleeper in this region.
All right, I'll ask Justin, who's your mid-major? Who's your mid major you think can make a run in this region?
I went to South Florida Bulls here. Brian Hodgson, really good coach. Yeah. Might be the favorite right now for the Providence job, so get to know him, UConn fans. That guy's a shark, just on the recruiting grind as well. He's going back. He's from upstate New York. That's why I ever thought he was going to get Syracuse job, but sounds like he's turned it down. Oh, what a mess that program is.
That's a disaster.
It's absolutely great. Sold their souls for football, and what has it got you? Yeah, even on the gridiron.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's from upstate New York. I guess his dad has dementia, and he hasn't seen him coach live in a while, a couple years. So I guess his dad's going to be there to go watch him. So that's going to be cool. That's one of those Madness stories too. But they're playing a Louisville team that Michael Brown's going to be out for at least first weekend now. It sounds like a South Florida team that can go up and down. They got a couple of really good players. Nelson, their big guy, can fill it up, and then also Wes Ennis as well, Joseph Pinion too. So they got a couple of really good scores. This is a South Florida team that can do some damage here, and I wouldn't be shocked if they knocked off Utah State, who's in the field by 13. They gave Bama a run for the money. They only lost by 11 in that one. So South Florida team, I wouldn't be shocked if they're sitting there in the Sweet 16, maybe playing UConn next weekend.
Yeah, it'd be a tough one against Michigan State, but yeah, it's a good one because of their first round matchup. The guy without Louisville's best player, so they could potentially make a run. So that is a good one. Now, what's your pick in the East region? I'll give mine. I got Duke, and I got them beating Michigan State. I got Duke because those teams always play well in March, but I just think Duke is if they get to the Elite Eight, Duke is the better team and will beat them. So I got Duke beating Michigan State. What do you got in the East region? Who do you got UConn beating?
I got a rematch against Kansas back in December. I got the UConn Huskies knocked off Kansas.
If they can come together, Kansas, they can come together and actually play. That's very possible.
It is. And I think you're going to get the best of Peterson this week. I really do in this tournament. And that's why I'm going to take the chance. Maybe at some point he goes down again and he's out. But I'm going to take the chance that he shows up and he really wants to make a name for himself again and really want to. Because it really sounds like nobody's going to pick him number one. So maybe these next couple of weeks, he kind of proves that I'm the number one pick in the country. I think we get it. I think UConn does enough against Kansas. They slow down Peterson enough here. They do end up back in the Final Four.
All righty. So you got UConn coming out of the East. I got Duke coming out of the East region. So we'll move on to the South region where we got the defending national champion, Florida Gators, and they'll play in the South region. They're the number one seed in that region. They end up losing 7 games, still getting a 1 seed. So, and not even winning the SEC and still getting a 1 seed. So they were the last number 1 seed. Todd Golden's squad, the Florida Gators, are defending national champions. Ironically, the other team in their number 2 seed in their bracket is the team that they beat in the national title game last year in the Houston Cougars. So the question, though, to start is, should Florida be the favorite to win the South region? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, and and the answer to my question is coming up next. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to say no, and the answer to my question is coming up next.
Yeah, for me, I do have him as a favorite in this one.
Ooh, you got him as a favorite.
I do. I don't think they played well against Vandy on Saturday. I think they had to get that out of their system. I just love their length. I love their athleticism. If Land and Lee can make enough shots, this is such a tough team to beat. I know that's been their one kryptonite all year. But the team's played really well. I just think you don't see a ton of teams with that size that Florida could throw at you. Thomas Hawks, Ruben Chichule, the defensive player of the year in the SEC. So the SEC wasn't as good this year as it's been the last couple, but it's still a really good league. Todd Golden's a really good coach. And I'm going to take the Gators still to win this because I think they blow out Vandy if they play again in the Sweet 16. I don't think Nebraska. I think Nebraska could shoot enough. I don't think they're athletic enough. So I really like Florida's path to get to the Elite Eight here and set up the team that I think you have here as the favorite to win this thing.
Yes, and you led me to my next question there. How big of an advantage is it for Houston to play at home in the round of 16 in the Elite Eight? I think it's a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage, and that's why they're going to be my pick. They're going to be my pick to go to win the South region, get back to the Final Four. And that's why Florida isn't my pick because we'll get to that. We pick when we pick who we got in it, but I think it's a huge advantage for Houston. I think it's going to be the difference of them getting bounced in the Sweet 16 or Elite Eight or them getting to the Final Four. So I think it's a huge advantage for Houston.
Yeah, I do think for Houston to be huge because this thing's played at the Toyota Center too, where the Rockets played and not like NRG or Reliance Stadium, whatever the big stadium's called down there in Houston. I always forget. Where like there's 75,000 people and it kind of drowns everything out. But like Toyota Center, it's a little bit, it's probably smaller. So I do think you're going to get a Houston home game. But Ty Golden loves playing kind of the villain role in this. So like I think he's going to have, like I think Florida's going to use it to advantage that they're going to kind of be a road team here. So I think it will be an advantage, but I do think Florida will be able to drown it out. I think Florida will. I don't think that's gonna be a problem for Florida. I think they'll still take care of business, even though they're going to be playing a road game as like the 1 seed.
All righty. Who is your sleeper team that can make a run in this region? And I'm going to go with Vanderbilt because their guard play. I really like their guard play because they were right there with Arkansas for most of the SEC championship game with Miles, with Tanner. I really like their guard play. Now, they don't have much of an inside game, and I really like their guard play. To me, Vanderbilt is the team I think is the sleeper team in this region. And they beat Florida in the SEC championship game, and they be matched up with them in the Sweet 16. So to me, Vanderbilt is my sleeper team in this region.
For me, my sleeper team in this region, because I do like your Vandy one. You know, guards matter. I went a little bit further down the board here. I went with VCU. I think they could knock off North Carolina because it's not the same team without Caleb Wilson here. I love their guard play as well. You know, Nick Lewis, tough. He had a really good A-10 championship game. Terrence Hill Jr. VCU just kind of stacked with guards. They play really good defense. They can knock down shots, and that's kind of what you need. So they're tough, kind of gritty guards who can still shoot the three ball. So I really like VCU. I think they could go on a little bit of run here. That's a team that we've seen it do it a couple times before, and I think it's another year where they could do it again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they'll have a very, very favorable matchup against North Carolina. It's gonna be tough for them to beat Illinois, though. I think it's gonna be very tough for them. I think it's gonna be tough for them to beat a team like Illinois with Wagler. I think it's gonna be tough to beat them. But yeah, they got a very favorable matchup with North Carolina. So yeah, no, I could see VCU making a run. Now, who is your mid major you think is gonna make a run in this tournament?
Mine, I went. I'm gonna go with Troy here. I went back forward with Troy or McNeese. I think this is a bad matchup for McNeese because they need to rely on turnovers, and Vandy does a pretty good job protecting the basketball. So I went with Troy. They got the redheaded Campbell brothers who could knock down threes. You know, they're a mediocre offensive defensive teams, but they got some size too. Scott Cross is a really good coach. They were there last year against Kentucky. They got blown out, but the Nebraska team never won a tournament game before. Troy, I think, could keep this thing close. I think they got enough shooters. They got the size too. Troy runs a lot of pick and roll stuff on offense, and Nebraska's been pretty good all year defending it. That's my one concern. But Troy's not great at one thing. This is a tough team. And kind of you'll fall in love with the Campbell brothers are two guys you'll fall in love with. And so sometimes that you need that, and sometimes that those are the type of guys that make the biggest impact in this week. So I went to Troy Trojans here.
You're going Troy. Again, I can't pick anything. After last year, I'm done with the mid majors picking them. I'm done with them. This NIL and transfer portal. A lot of those guys are getting plucked from other teams anyways, from the Power 5 teams anyways. So I'm done. I'm pretty much done with picking mid majors. As I said, I'm not picking any seed on anybody under a 12 seed to win a game in this tournament. You like that the other third? Did you pick Troy to beat Nebraska in your bracket?
I have not yet, but again, my brackets are like to be determined. I'll still change them about 30 times between now and 12 o'clock tomorrow. So
you do all the research. You actually do research on these 13s and 14 seeds.
Well, I watched them. I watched all these things all year.
Of course you watch them all, yeah.
That's why. Like, we'll get to the next region with Hawaii, but like, I'm a Hawaii fan, so like, I can't wait. I hate that pod. I know we're gonna get to it. I hate that pod so much.
Which one?
That they did that to me. The Arkansas, Hawaii, Wisconsin High Point pod. Really? I hate that pod. So I'll get to why, but yeah. So I watch all these teams. So I fall in love with each one of these teams.
Yeah. I want some of these.
I could have done the UConn Furman matchup if you wanted me to. I could have broke down Furman for you.
You could have broke down Furman. Yeah, I did not want to break. I think they're fine against Furman. I think they're fine. They're fine against Furman. In my opinion, everyone's seen Furman all year, and I think they're fine against Furman. I watched last year's tournament, and a lot of teams were fine against those kind of teams last year. You could have broken down Furman. You definitely could have broken down Furman, but I don't think it's worth it. I think they'll be fine on Friday against Furman. But going back to the South region, what is we'll do one or two teams are to go to the Elite Eight. I got a chalk 1-2. I got Houston and Florida and I'm going to go with Houston getting revenge against Florida from losing to them last year the title game and returning to the Final Four. Justin, what's your Elite Eight? Who do you got in your Elite Eight?
Same two as you here, but I'm going with the Gators to get the close win. I like their size. I think Houston could kind of bother them a little bit with their guards. But I'll take Florida to be able to kind of manage with them and the size to be a little bit too much of an issue for Houston, even though I know they're such a physical team. So I'm going to take Florida, even though they're playing Houston, to knock out the Cougars again.
All right, moving on to the West region, and this is Arizona's region. They were the number 2 overall seed. I thought they should have been the number 1 overall seed. I think they're clearly the best team going into the tournament, but especially going in at 32-2. But they are the number 2. They're the second overall seed. And the question is should Arizona be the favorite to win this region? And I'm going to say yes. I think they're clearly the best. I mean, in a region where Gonzaga is the number 3 seed, yes, to me they are the favorite. I think their big challenge is going to be, facing if they have to face Darius Acuff in the Sweet 16. That's going to be their biggest challenge. But we all know John Calipari will find a way to screw that game up for Arkansas, as he always does in the tournament. So I think even though Purdue, who did win the Big Ten, I think Arizona is clearly a better team than Purdue. So I'm going, I'm saying Arizona should be the favorite to win the West region.
And I know this is going to burn me, and I think you know where I'm going with this. I got Arkansas.
Wow, you're going with Calipari. You're going with Calipari. Yep. Wow.
This is going to burn me in a week.
Wow, I know.
Yeah, I am. And even though I have bracket notes for every year, so like when this stuff happens, I tell myself, okay, I can't fall for Calipari, but I will. Because I think Darius Acuff is the best guard that Calipari's ever had. I think he's better than John Wall. I think he's better than Derrick Rose. I think Darius Acuff's the best guard that he's coached. And we know in March you need the guards. Malik Thomas is a really good shot maker as well. Trayvon Brazil, senior president's been there a lot. I like him too. I really like this Arkansas team. Arizona always finds a way to screw this up. Tommy Lloyd, man. He's not a very good in-game coach. He makes zero adjustments whatsoever. I know they got a ton of talent. They just come at you with their size and physicality, but I just see them finding a way to screw this thing up every year like Arizona does. So I got Calipari as a favorite to win this thing. And yes, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm falling for it.
Wow, you're falling for John Calipari. Now, speaking of Calipari, if he could take this, like he's already taken UMass to a Final Four, he's already taken Kentucky to a Final Four, and he's taken Memphis to a Final Four. If he could take Arkansas to a Final Four, what will this do to his legacy? I think this would be huge for his legacy. Yes, I know, a lot of people, and as including me, will say, good coach, great recruiter, but if he could take another school to a Final Four, he can get another school and somehow win a national title. A national title would be huge on his legacy. It'd be humongous if he could win a national title in Arkansas. But I think taking Arkansas to a Final Four would be huge for his legacy.
It would. But for me, with all the talent that he's coached in his career, he needs a second title for me to really move the needle on another final. He's made a bunch of Final Fours, I get it, but I know sometimes this is luck based, but some of the teams that he's had that he hasn't been able to win a title with, so for me, he needs that second one to really change it. But yeah, to be able to take another school to a Final Four, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how many coaches have taken 4 different programs to or 5.
I think Pitino took
5.
Providence. Oh, really? He would take so it's UMass, Kentucky, Memphis.
Oh no, 4.
Maybe 4 because Pitino took. 4. But if you look at it, Patino took Louisville. He took Providence. He took Kentucky. He hasn't taken St. Joe's. He hasn't taken St. He's only
he's
3. So Calipari's taken 4 schools to a Final Four.
That's
for as much people bash him, including me. That's impressive. If he does this,
it is impressive.
Yeah.
It'd be impressive if he could do it one more time with his Arkansas team. So it would be impressive, but for me, they would be even bigger. It would definitely be even bigger if he get that second national title because he's had so much talent in his career that he should be. Some of his teams should. Again, like that undefeated team, 2015, that should have won the title. it was an indictment that they couldn't get it done. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me it'd be Hugh because he's had a ton of talent. And especially too the way things ended at Kentucky, like it should have ended. That thing was right. They were both parties were ready to move on here, but especially where Kentucky is now, where they got a really tricky first round game. They lose first weekend again. And Mark Pope next year, near threes on the hot seat, where it looks like Arkansas is kind of thriving. So, but again, like I'm not surprised Arkansas is thriving. Kentucky's kind of struggling because nobody wanted that Kentucky job because that fan base they're insane. That's an insane fan base. They're even worse than I think the Yankee fans.
Yeah. You're right about that. You're right about Kentucky fans being crazy. But yeah, I think it would really help his legacy. I think even a Final Four appearance at Arkansas would really help his legacy. Now, I will go to our sleeper teams. Who are in the West region? I'll start. And mine is going to be Wisconsin. Wisconsin, because of their guard play. I like their guard play of Boyd and Blackwell. I like their guard play. So I'm going to take Wisconsin. And it really showed up, especially in that quarterfinals of that Big Ten tournament when they knocked out Illinois. So I really like their guard play. So I'm going to say Wisconsin. Justin, who's your sleeper team in the West region?
Same as yours here. I got the Badgers. This is why I hate this pod because a week ago, Arkansas and Wisconsin were two teams that are going to have the Final Four. Now they're probably going to meet in the second round. So that's why I just hate this pod so much. And I love Hawaii. I'm a Hawaii fan, so like I think they could have beaten a lot of the 4 seeds. Be tough to beat Arkansas. So I'm disappointed with their draw as well. So, but yeah, Nick Boyd, John Blackwell. Boyd obviously has got the tournament pedigree. Being at that Florida Atlantic team that got to a Final Four. Final Four. Nolan Winter, the big guy, sounds like he should be back as well, and that's going to help him out too. So yeah, I love this Wisconsin team. They already knocked off Michigan this year. They can really shoot the through ball. Greg Gard, I think, really turned into a really good coach, and I don't think he gets enough respect for the job that he's done since taking over for Bo Ryan. I know there was a point there he's sitting on the hot seat, but I think he's done a really good job, and I do love this Wisconsin team with their guards.
Yeah, they do. They got really good guard play, and I would not be surprised if they made a run in this tournament. I would not be surprised if Wisconsin made a run in this region. And seeing Calipari struggles in the NCAA tournament, I definitely could see that happening. Now, who's your mid-major you think they're going to make? That's going to make a run? I feel like you kind of gave it away.
Yeah, I don't think. It's gonna be my Rainbow Warriors out on the island.
Wow.
Yeah, even though Arkansas is probably gonna be my Final Four, I will be cheering for Hawaii. So if it goes on my bracket, I don't care. Because I love Hawaii. I love Coach Ganat. He's done a phenomenal job there the decade that he's been in charge. They play no help, no switch on defense. Now, normally I really like this strategy because not a lot of teams do it, but Arkansas plays a ton of isolation, and it's not going to be a problem, I don't think, for them. So, but it's a tough team. They're 43rd in defensive efficiency. Their best player, Isaac Johnson, it's an Oregon transfer. They got 8 guys in the lineup who could shoot it. Now, they don't shoot it great. They rank 300th in 3-point percentage, so it's not great, but they do shoot it. So hey, they get hot in a couple of nights here. Maybe they knock off Cal. But I've loved watching this Hawaii team all year. They play really good defense. So watch out for the Rainbow Warriors here. High Point too could be another one, but our old friend Yusuf Singare is on the High Point Panthers as well. So you want to cheer for old Husky? There you go.
Yeah. We'll see what happens there. And what's your prediction for the final of the West region? I got chalk again. I got Arizona beating Purdue. What do you got in the final? And I know it's not Arizona.
Yeah, it's not Arizona. I got the Razorbacks knocking off the Purdue Boilermakers here. I think Acuff is the difference maker. I think their size and athleticism gives Braden Smith and Freshman Lawyer problems. And always with Gonzaga, but Braden Huff might be back for next weekend. He will not play this weekend. So I still just a little questionable there on Gonzaga. So I went with Purdue to knock them off. So I got the Razorbacks over Purdue.
All righty. So you got Arkansas, you got Florida, and you got UConn in your Final Four. Our 3 finals are so totally different. I mean, I got Duke, I got Arizona, and I got Houston. So the three different teams. Let's see what happens in the Midwest region, and we'll start there. And really, the question is, and we've been saying this about every region about the top seed: should Michigan be the favorite to win this region? And I'm going to say yes, even without their with their guard coming off the bench, not playing. They weren't totally impressive in the Big Ten tournament, but I still think they are the favorite to win this region. I looked through it, and I definitely still think they are. Seeing what happened with Alabama this week, I think they're definitely the favorite to win this region. Justin, you agree?
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think they are as well. Just because, yeah, the bracket kind of has opened up nicely for them. Texas Tech. If Texas Tech was healthy, like if they had JT Toppin, I would have Texas Tech as a Final Four team. But Toppin's one of the best big guys in the country, and without him, it's huge. And Christian Anderson should be good to go, but they just don't have a ton of depth. In Alabama now without Holloway, that's definitely a missing piece for him. And I think Virginia all year has been a paper tiger. And Iowa State, I think, is supremely talented here as well. But they always run out of gas now. Usually their problem is in the tournament. They just don't have enough scoring. I don't think that's their issue this year. Maybe this could be the year for Iowa State, but I'm banking on Michigan, though. Yeah, they didn't play great. I expect the actual Olympic board to play better. Andy Mara. I expect this Michigan team to take care of business here and get out of the Midwest region.
All righty. So, what is your sleeper team? No. First, we'll go to this one. The Holloway loss for Alabama. You mentioned that. How big of a loss is that? I think it's going to be a big loss losing a guard like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough loss for him as well here because Holloway's the second leading scorer, the second other kind of big ball handler, second on the team in assists per game as well here. So, not to have him, they don't have a ton of guard depth behind him. And you're playing a Texas Tech team that's kind of physical defensive team. They don't have a ton of depth either, and Alabama loves to play a track meet. So I think they have that, junior that's been around for a couple years now. It's definitely a tough loss here for Nate Oates in the group, and we'll see. I can't imagine he even plays if they get to next week. I don't know how long this investigation is going to take. So maybe they get him back eventually, but I just don't know right now. That police report wasn't great.
No, it was not. It definitely was not. Now we will go to our sleeper team out of the Midwest region, and I'm going to go with Virginia. I think they played Duke tough in the ACC title game. They played them right to the end. This is not a great team, but a good team. I think that to me they're my sleeper in the Midwest region. Justin, who's your sleeper?
Oh yeah, I would have gone with St. Louis, but because they got stuck in the 9th seed and they did not play great down the stretch here. I went another kind of similar on conference rank. I went down to the West Coast Conference, got Herbst Index, Santa Clara Broncos. I think they knock off Kentucky here this week, and they got a ton of size. They got a really good pro prospect in Al Graves who could fill it up, get the rim. Decent enough 3-point shooter, can keep you off balance. St. Clair just got size. They got shooting ability as well. They can rebound the basketball. They can play good defense. I think there could be a real problem for Iowa State. I think they're going to be a real problem for the Wildcats, and I think they could knock off Virginia as well. So I went with the Santa Clara Broncos. I'm really looking forward. I'm glad that team got it. First time since '96. Steve Nash final year with the out there in the Bay Area.
Wow. And who is your mid-major that can make a run? I actually have one in this bracket. I'm saying Akron. Because I like their matchup with Texas Tech. Don't mind their matchup with Alabama. I think there could be a chance Akron could be playing Michigan in the Sweet 16. So I'm going to go Akron. Justin, who's your mid-major you think that can make a run?
Yeah, I went team down just a spot lower is the Hofstra Pride. Speedy
Claxton. Long Island. Speedy Claxton.
Yep. Yeah. I like your Akron too. Travion Johnson, 20-point scorer. That Akron team really good, well-coached team with John Gross. So almost went with them, but I went with the Pride. Cruz Davis, watch out for his name the next couple of days here. He's kind of that game-breaking guard that you need in these next couple of games to pull off an upset. Averages 20 a game. Was at St. John's, but didn't get a ton of play time, and comes to Hofstra. Could have transferred last year to big time program, but I guess him and Speedy have a great relationship. So, kid from Plano, Texas, found his way up to Long Island. Preston Edmond too is another good scorer. They got two big guys too that they can kind of throw at you that both play about 20 minutes a game at Silas Sunday in victory on a 2. So Hofstra could throw some size at you. They're gonna slow it down. They play the 300s in the tempo. So I really like this Hofstra team. I think they could go on a run in that pod. So I got the Pride.
You're going with the Hofstra Pride as your sleeper. I got Akron. So who do you got Michigan beating in the Elite Eight? I got Michigan beating Iowa State. I'm gonna go chalk again. I got Michigan beating Iowa State. I just think Michigan has more size than Iowa State, and that's going to be the difference. That's why I got the Wolverines getting to their first Final Four since 2018 with John Beilein. Justin, who do you got Michigan beating in the Midwest Region Final?
We got the Santa Clara Broncos here.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa! You were a Herb Sendek guy,
Yeah.
man. You were a Herb Sendek guy.
Guy's a winner. Wherever he's gone, he's won. Probably should hire him in the last couple of years, but I don't think that's gonna happen. But yeah, I just think they have a ton of size. I it could really go chalk here. I haven't been a huge Virginia fan all year. I just I think they rely too much on the three ball for my liking. I could never pick a Rick Barnes team to go deep. I'm done doing that experiment. That just burns you every time. And Iowa State, I think can do it this year, but like they're just another one I haven't seen do it. So I might change this pick eventually, next 24 hours or so. I will admit, but right now, I like the Broncos team. I do think Michigan gets them, though in the Elite Eight, but I got Michigan taking down Santa Clara.
You got Michigan taking down Santa Clara. All righty, so we got our Final Four. I got Michigan, Arizona, Duke, and Houston. You got UConn, Florida, Michigan, and Arkansas. So we'll do so one of the matchups will be yours would be UConn. So I'll do mine first. I'll do mine first. I got Duke beating Houston in one of the semifinals, and I got Arizona beating who I think are the two top teams in the country going into it. I got Arizona beating Michigan in the other one. So I got Arizona Duke in the final. Who do you got winning the two semifinal games?
I'm going chalk in this. I got Michigan over Arkansas, and I got Florida over UConn. So yeah, I got a match of Michigan and Florida for the national championship game.
You got Michigan, Florida. I got Arizona Duke, and I'm going to go with Arizona. I'm going with Tommy Lloyd and the Sun Devils to win. No, Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcats. I'm going with Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcats to win the national title. So I got Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcats winning the national title. Justin, who do you got winning it all?
I got the Michigan Wolverines winning it all. I got Dusty Magan in his first title, first national title. Been on him since it was his Florida Atlantic team. So I've always been a big Dusty May fan, and they get it done this year. I think Axel Lindborg, Iny Mara, Eli Cadeau does enough here to just keep them not to lose them a basketball game. So I'm going to take Michigan to stop Florida from having back-to-back teams that have won back-to-back national titles with UConn and Florida.
And you got Florida beating UConn. So you got UConn getting to the Final Four.
Yeah, Florida.
So you still got Florida beating you. So you got the two national champions facing off in the Final Four. I got a rematch of the national semifinal last year, and I got Arizona and Michigan playing in it. I got Arizona winning. I just think Arizona this year is clearly the best team. I think they are. I think they're clearly the best team. I think they're going to prove it. I know they got a tough matchup in the Elite Eight against Darius Acuff in Arkansas, but I think they're going to prove it. That's why I think Arizona wins the national title. You got Michigan winning the national title. So that's going to wrap up this edition of Sports Talk with R&J for Justin and Alfredo. I'm Steve Risser, but we'll be back in about 10 minutes talking about the big trade the Broncos made to get Jalen Waddle and the USA disappointing us again in the World Baseball Classic. So make sure you tune in for that.